Welcome, welcome to our end of the week restore class. This is definitely my favorite way to end a week, and I hope that you also benefit from it. So we're going to be starting lying down today. As you can see, I've got my props nearby just in case. You don't need formal yoga props, but it does help to have maybe a blanket nearby, something that you can fold and pad. You can see this bolster here. What I like to do with it is it's very useful for when we're lying back, and I'm going to be doing some heart opening today. And so if you have something that you can lie back on, even if it's a pillow or something, that would be useful. What else can I say? That's about it. So you can make your way to your mat and get on your back. You can start with your knees bent or even draped over the bolster or pillow or cushion, and we'll get started. So once we get to our backs, especially for the very first time, and especially if you have a harder floor underneath you, sometimes the body needs a chance to adjust. And so keeping the knees bent and even knocking them towards each other, that's a way to allow the pelvis to relax, to allow those legs to fall into the hip sockets. And the body eventually adjusts. Otherwise, you can spread the legs out on the floor or even draped over the cushion, just so that we get that release through the sacrum and the pelvis. We have a very gentle curve through the lumbar spine, and the entire thoracic spine is supported underneath us. We'll close our eyes and start to drop in. We start to let the layers of ourself stack and align. And we can begin this process physically. So feel the heels drop towards the earth. Allow the legs to be heavy. Notice as you relax and release, it almost feels like you can realign the joints. Everything clicks back into place. Allow the pelvis to be heavy. And then soften the abdomen. Feel it rise and fall with your breath. Notice the natural movement of the rib cage as it expands and recoils. Let the heads of the arm bones fall back towards the earth, opening the collarbones. The arms are fully supported, limp at the sides. There's again a gentle curve up through the neck, a little bridge with the earth. And then the head just rests back. Can you release the tension in the neck and the ears? And just let that head be heavy. we set the intention for our class today, just as we do with all our classes, to meet the body where it's at. We move gently and we listen to its cues, especially in a restore class where we want to soothe the nervous system. As we unwind from our week and restore equilibrium in the body. That constant stress and stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system is always preparing the body for fight, flight, or freeze. And here, we want to turn off that signal and fully let the body sigh in relief. Unwind the muscles. Unwind the frazzled nerves. And restore the parasympathetic nervous system, which will allow you to rest and recover fully and completely. So we definitely move within a pain-free range of motion. And we move slow and mindfully and listen to when our bodies start to tense up again. Reassure them by coming back to a position that you can hold without holding your breath, without gritting your teeth. My theme this week has been the true nature of duality, or how we can smooth out those transitions between extremes. And so we'll continue that, but step back and look at the bigger picture. Since it's Friday, where we're practicing right now, Friday evening, we want to smooth out this transition from the work week into the weekend. We want to smooth out the transition from the day to the evening and hold the body, support ourselves in this transition. What do you need to feel safe, supported, and to be able to let go and release so that you can walk into the next day with an open heart? And perhaps with an open body as well. Slowly start to bring the arms up overhead and stretch them. And then release down. Come to kind of a diamond shape above the head. So maybe the index fingers are touching, the elbows are falling down towards the earth. They may or may not get there. And we feel the front body opening, the armpits, the inner aspect of the arms. If you find yourself holding here, just get curious. It is a vulnerable pose. In traditional Chinese medicine, we have the heart meridian that comes down the inner aspect of the arm, and it's there because it is a vulnerable organ. It is the heart. It rules everything. It is the monarch of the body. And so we keep it close to our sides and often hidden. So with our arms up overhead here, in the comfort and safety of your own home, we allow that aspect of ourselves to stretch out, to breathe. So notice if you're tensing up, if you're holding here. And let's watch the difference as we move through class. Slowly bring those arms up above you, reaching towards the ceiling here so that they're perpendicular to the earth. And then see if you can let the arm bones drop down towards the earth. So almost as if those arms are heavier, heavy pillars that are anchoring down into the floor under. You can wiggle the fingers a little. It may feel unnatural to have them suspended here, but see if you can find that point where it's almost effortless to hold them. And then bend the elbows. One will come in front of the other as you touch your opposite shoulders with the opposite hand. And keep that perpendicular angle to the earth, now with the elbows pointing up. Let those shoulders fall back. You can really feel it through that out breath. Feel the shoulder blades really press into the earth as you breathe out and relax. Now reach those arms up again and cross the opposite arm on top, elbows pointing up to the sky, hands to the opposite shoulder, and let those arms drop again. Letting everything go. Notice if it feels different. Even those subtle differences as we change sides. And now we're going to reach back up again, release the arms, and hug those knees in. You can rock a little bit side to side. Take the knees and the hands and start to make circles on the ceiling. Massage out that low back, the sacrum. And then switch directions. Again, noticing any changes. And then hug those knees in. Now we're going to hold it here so that you can truly experience what happens as you soften. Every in-breath, you can feel the body expand. Maybe the back presses harder, firmer against the earth. And every exhale, can you release through the hip flexors, around the hip joint, letting the legs fall a little bit deeper towards you. Remember to let go through the shoulders, the face. Beautiful. One more breath here. Now we're going to bring those feet up towards the sky. Keep the knees bent. You could hold on to the thighs here in a happy baby. You could hold on to the shins, or you can reach your arms up between the legs and take a hold of the outer edges of the feet. Now this will feel a little bit deeper. And again, we start in at one point. We notice our holding patterns. We notice where we may tense up. And we either go back a step if we find ourselves gritting our teeth or bracing against some sort of unseen danger, or we soften and notice if we can maintain that. Every exhale, see if you can press the sit bones away from you with a little bit of muscle energy. Getting heavier through the pelvis, heavier through the legs, letting the knees sink down towards the earth a little bit deeper. Again, if it's too much, you can just come back to holding the thighs, bringing those knees away from you a little bit. Let's do one more breath here, and we're going to come into a one-legged happy baby. So holding on to that right leg, now we'll stretch that left leg out. You may have a bolster still to catch that leg. It may be suspended over the earth. Maybe it reaches all the way down, but we keep that right leg where it is. And now we can feel a nice lengthening from the front of that left hip flexor thanks to gravity as the leg draws towards the earth. And we continue breathing into all 360 degrees of that right hip joint. A lot of our automatic reactions, those that are productive and those that are non-productive, they come from a need for safety. And if we start to notice how our body acts the same way, the muscles are often tensing in compensation to help something else stabilize, really in an effort to keep us safe. It's just that over time, these patterns start to cause some structural dysfunction as well. So we come back to ensure, to usher the body that it's safe every once in a while. One more breath here, and we'll go to the left leg. Bring that left knee back in towards you. Take hold of the left thigh, the left ankle or shin, or the left outer edge of the foot, and let that right leg stretch out. Maybe it's caught by a pillow or a cushion. Maybe it just hangs there. As we draw that left knee down towards the earth beside us, and let gravity lengthen the front of the right hip. The breath aims to soften all 360 degrees of the hip joint. We can feel the muscles that have been tense to stabilize the joint, the ones that have not been awoken due to lifestyle and posture. And we can definitely feel all the other areas that are connected. The low back and the pelvis, the inner thigh, the hip flexor, the outer thigh, the hamstring, and even something deep, deep inside the core. We soften here for 2 more long breaths. And then slowly we release that. We bring the knees into the hands again. Maybe rock side to side, maybe make circles again, maybe even circles away from each other. Just do whatever movements feel good in the moment. And we're going to come over onto our sides. So you'll roll over onto one side, keep the knees bent. Now you have a couple options here. If you don't have a cushion or anything, that's okay, because you can just let your head rest on that bottom arm. And you're lying here in a semi-fetal position. If you do have a cushion, you can bring it, I'll demonstrate that after, but you can bring it under your torso and adjust it to make that feel comfortable as well. With the top arm, we're going to be doing circles here. So you need to make sure you've cleared some space around you so that you can make the biggest circles you can. So I put my bolster right up into my hip. And then that elevates my torso off the ground and gives it a little bit more support. And then we're going to take that top arm, bring it out right in front of us. Come onto the fingertips and just relax the arm bone into the shoulder socket for a moment. And then we're going to start drawing circles. So of course, that backwards motion, you can let that elbow bend. You're moving from the very root of the shoulder joint. And the arm is just following suit. See if you can make those circles as slow as you possibly can so that you can really get curious about what's happening in that shoulder joint. So that you may pause when there's a really juicy spot that feels like it needs the awakening. We're going to do one more circle in this direction. And then we're going to go in the other direction. So for most of us, the challenging part is when that bubble is drawn behind us as we're opening up the chest, the front of the shoulder, all these areas that keep us protected by hunching forward. As the winter approaches, we'll see this even more as we're hunching against wind and cold, protecting our front bodies, but also tightening them up. One more in this direction. And then come to rest here. Give that shoulder a rest. Breathe some oxygen back into the body and let it swirl around. Feeling that life come back to the shoulder joint. We're going to take this into a gentle twist here. So you have two options here. If you're on the earth, you could turn your body down towards the ground, make a little pillow for your head, and rest it there. Elbows out to the side. If you have your cushion, you could do the same. Or if you're feeling twisty enough in either position, you could even turn your top ear to become the bottom ear so that your twist starts at the hips and goes all the way up to the head and neck. Now it's a little bit easier if you have the height of a cushion to do that full twist. Knees can fall naturally, however they want to fall. Relax the feet and the toes. Every in-breath, we can feel a little bit of tension, some healthy stress to stretch things out. With every out-breath, imagine releasing deeper into the twist, into the earth. 2 more breaths here. And then we're going to make our way back to our sides. Now everybody can take that cushion away and come back down to resting on your arm. One more thing on this side before we switch. So keeping that bottom knee bent for a nice stable base. We're going to take the top ankle in the top hand. And so you'll probably have to bring the knee up and heel in order to get that ankle. Now we're going to try to move that knee back in line with the hip as far as we can. Now you can also see that we automatically will have that knee higher. Next step is to bring that knee down in line with the hip. So we're coming into a fairly deep stretch for the front of the leg and the hip flexor. If it's too much, you know the little tricks now. It's a little easier if you bring your knee in front of the hip. It's a little easier if your knee is higher, right? So find your spot, find a spot that's sustainable. Relax the shoulder and breathe into the front of that leg. We've all probably done this stretch standing up before. And when we're lying down here, we can really focus on that area. We don't have to worry about balance. And again, the body is more prone to open up when it doesn't feel stressed. One more breath here. And then release. Slowly, you can roll over to the other side, or you can press yourself up to move to the other side. And we start with our arm circles again on this. So perhaps you have your cushion, or perhaps you're down on the earth. You come to lay on your bottom arm. Your legs find a comfortable base. If that hip bone is digging into the earth, you might need a padded blanket or towel underneath there. We take the fingertips of the top arm out in front of us and just take a moment to let go. As you sigh out, imagine those joints reintegrating, especially these ball and socket type joints. Imagine the muscles around there soften. And then the head of the humerus of the arm bone just nestles back into its natural position. And now we start our circles. We start to draw around us. Big bubble. Moving slow and mindfully. Moving within our own range of motion. Pausing at any interesting points. keeping those joints healthy and alive. We'll do one more in this direction. And then come into the other direction, noticing any differences. Smoothing out those places that feel chalky by slowing down, by being mindful about range of motion, by using our breath. Nice. Let's do one more circle in this direction. And then come to rest with that hand out in front and just let the shoulder drop. Send breath, send oxygen, send blood flow to the area. And then we'll go into our nice open, gentle twist. Again, by either just facing down towards the earth, keeping the legs where they are, and making a pillow for your forehead, or turning the head all the way to the opposite side. And finding a place here. Notice again if and where you're holding, where you're bracing. And I won't be able to tell you, you know, if it's a bracing, a holding that you can soften with time and breath, or if it's one that's just not worth it. If it's one that's creating more strain and stress in the body. And then you change your position a little. So if your head was facing the opposite direction from your knees, you may bring it back to straight down, resting on something on your forehead. Or you may even take it one more step and have the face in the same direction as the knees. Chest is still facing down towards the earth. But notice what that does. Notice which position allows you to release further. Because if there's release, it likely means your body feels safe, supported. And in that place of safe support, we're so much more receptive to change. One more breath here. And then we'll press ourselves slightly up, take any props out of the way, and come all the way down on that bottom arm. Create a stable base with your bottom leg. Take that top ankle in the top hand, and then bring that knee down in line with the hip, and then start to bring it back in line with the hip. Once you find that place of just enough tension, just enough stretch, we hold. Now, if these quad stretches aren't working for you at all, another thing you can always do is take a belt around your ankle just to increase that space between the heel and the buttocks. Because sometimes this deep bend of the knee is not accessible either. Beautiful. We'll do 2 more breaths here. And then slowly release that leg. Take a moment to rest. And we're going to flip over onto our abdomens. You can wiggle it out here. And then with the head to one side, just let everything melt into the earth. What can you give over? Now with the front body fully supported under you. Can you let go a little more? We're going to come into a Sphinx pose. So walking those elbows under the shoulders or even slightly ahead of the shoulders, depending on how much you would like in your back body at this time. We're going to first let everything go down into the earth. The arms are almost just like pillars holding us here. And then on the next inhale, if it's calling to you, you can start to draw your heart further forward by pulling the arms towards you slightly, putting a little muscle energy into it, and almost tractioning the spine further forward and up, creating this nice smooth arc from the tailbone up through the sacrum, the lumbar spine, the thoracic spine, the cervical spine, all the way up to the head. Imagining that in the spine, we can start to increase the spaces between the vertebrae by pulling ourselves a little further forward, lengthening. And then release all the way down. Give it a wiggle. We're going to bring one arm, we'll say the right arm, out into a cactus pose. Look towards the right. You could always cushion your head with your left hand as well. And then draw the right knee out to the right as well. And come to about a 90-degree angle with that knee. If the outside of that knee joint, the knobby part of the bone is digging into the ground, you can always bring a blanket or towel underneath it. So if you can imagine a frog pose where you have both knees out to the sides, this is kind of a half frog pose. So you can adjust, decide how far up that right knee can come. Right toes are pointing out towards the right. And again, we find softness. Every exhale, how much can you give over to the earth? Beautiful. One more breath here. And we'll go to the other side. So I'm just going to flip over so that I can look your direction, but you can just turn the head to the left. Bring the left elbow out to this pose. Maybe support your head with the right hand. And then left knee bends out to the left, left toes facing left. And you decide how far up that knee comes. Find that balance between bringing it closer up towards the elbow, but keeping the left side of the body, of the abdomen, grounded. Because you'll notice the more you bring that knee towards you, the more the hips might raise. So we find where the body is most relaxed. We find that balance between that slight bit of stretch, of fascial tension, those places where we feel like change wants to occur. The balance between there and rest, letting go. Notice what's going on elsewhere in the body. If other parts of the body start to hold on, compensate, Can you let them go? Can you shift to a place where you can let them go? Beautiful. 2 more breaths here. And then slowly bring that leg back. Turn the head down. Give yourself a wiggle. And then press yourself up into a child's pose. You could be supported by a cushion or a pillow, or you can just come into your favorite version of child's. Make sure your head or cheek has something to rest on. So we're slowly going to make our way to our backs to set up for the final reclined poses. So again, you may use a cushion here. You may use a bolster here. If you don't have anything like that, a couch cushion or a pillow. Another option, if you have books or blocks or something like that, they're a little bit hard, so you could always lay a blanket over top and kind of make your own square cushion here. I'm going to opt for the softer one. Again, if you have nothing at all, just come to your back. So if you do have something, we're going to drape our torso over that cushion. And so you'll feel, even if you're even slightly elevated off the floor here, the chest has the opportunity to expand. We can keep the knees bent for now, knees knocking in towards each other. And so this is where we could say, even when you're on your back on the floor, just dropping the heads of the arm bones back will allow the chest to open. Hands come out beside us, palms facing up. We settle in, we find step 1. Step sideways here. Now step 2, maybe drawing those legs straight out in front of you. So if you are elevated, this is a supported fish pose, heart bursting up towards the sky. We hold here, letting the heads of the arm bones be heavy, letting the chest expand with every inhale. The back of the head is supported. You could always add extra cushioning back there if there's too much opening through the neck. Step 2, we're going to bring those arms out to a T, palms up. And again, whether you're on your back or on a prop, either way, you're going to feel a change. Next step, you stay there or start to drag the hands a little bit higher up overhead so that you're in a Y position. Now this may be pretty intense if you're on any kind of elevation, and it can also be intense on the earth as well. As you let those hands drop back, the chest opens. You may decide to go down a step or change the angle. Find a place that's sustainable for 3 more breaths. And then the last step, arms reach out overhead. Now, if you're elevated, there may be nothing in contact with the earth, or it might just be one finger. If you're on the earth, thumbs down towards the earth, palms facing each other. You're still feeling gravity. Draw those arms back. Open the chest, especially on the inhale. Two more breaths here. And then slowly drag those arms back down as if you're doing a snow angel. Come all the way back up. Nice and slow at your own pace. And just create some movement there. Notice what's happening as you move those arms overhead and back down. Go slow, pause at any spot that feels good. On your trajectory back down the next time, if there's a spot that calls to you where you would like to stay, stay there. We're going to bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees fall out to the sides. If they don't feel safe, you can have blocks or books or toilet paper rolls catching them on the way down. You could bring the heels further away from the pelvis or closer in. A reclined Baddha, opening yourself up here. Receiving all of the benefits of your practice, of this softness that you've created in the body, softness that really gives you access to more potential, more power, more strength, more stability, as we work towards less compensation and more root strength. Hold here for 2 more breaths. And then slowly draw those knees back up towards each other. Do some windshield wipers. And you can remove any cushions and prepare yourself for your final relaxation. So this may be traditional Shavasana. You may bring a cushion, a pillow, a bolster, a folded blanket underneath the knees again. You may bring your blanket over top of you. You choose a comfortable place for your hands. If another type of Shavasana calls to you. So Shavasana corpse pose is traditionally exactly that. But if you'd like to rest on your side, if you'd like to rest with the legs at the wall or draped over the side of a bed or a couch, go for it. Find your final position. Let anything else move through your body as needed. Close your eyes and let go into the earth. As you lay here, bring to mind the color red. This is the color of the root chakra. It burns as a bright red light or gem or flame, energy center. Right at the very base of the spine in the center of the body. From here, we feel our physical needs met. We feel safe. We feel grounded. See that red light fill up your body. Every inhalation makes it burn brighter. Every exhalation, that brightness remains and it disperses, infusing you with the feeling that everything is going to be all right. It's the root chakra because it's at the very bottom of the rungs here, but we need this safety for any other growth, development, expansion to happen.
stay here as long as you need to. If you can, roll over towards your bed and rest for the night. Or maybe you're just so refreshed, renewed, you can go on with life. Make sure you thank yourself before you leave today. I thank you so much for practicing with me. The light in me smiles and nods to the light in you.